All right, Nick, let's talk about the Dallas Cowboys because someone's got to do it. That's been the theme this offseason is the Cowboys. There's been a lot of change on this coaching staff, but there's not a lot of fanfare around the changes. And I think that leads to our overarching point today is that the Cowboys have made a lot of really smart football guy type of hires. There's no flashy names, there's no big time names. But if you look at what we're about to show here in a minute, they have done a fantastic job just sticking to the plan and doing exactly what they intended to, building this new coaching staff. Before we get into that, though, I'm Andrew, and this is Saturday Morning Inspection. All right, Nick, as I alluded to, the Cowboys, great X's and O's moves, great football moves. They got away from just doing the old, like, let's pick the flashiest name we can find and put them on our roster as a new coach. Let's just jump in straight to this tweet and we'll talk more about it on the other side. This, of course, is from over on X. It says at Voice of the Star. It says finalized list of Cowboys coaching hires for 2025 and talks about their media availability as well. And you look at this list outside of, Clayton Adams, great hire. Junior Adams, another great hire. Ken Dorsey, just going down the list. Matt Eberflus, probably the biggest name on this list, but he just got fired from his last job. So I don't think it was really a flashy move. I think it was an under the radar hire because people are like, Matt Eberflus, not a great taste in your mouth when it comes to him. But if you put him as defensive coordinator, that's a different story. Keep going down. Nick Sorensen, special teams coordinator. So many great hires that the Cowboys have made across the staff. Just no one is glitz, no one's glam, all solid football guys. Tyquan Underwood, a guy that I recognize as former wide receiver himself. So football players, former guys, football coaches. Just overall really great moves by the Cowboys. I think it just deserves a little bit more attention. Curious what your thoughts are on all of this, Nick. But before we get to you, Cowboys fans, in the comment section below, give you one more second. The list is in front of me. You kind of see all the names on here. If you had to give some fanfare to one of the names on this list, who gets you the most excited? Let us know in the comment section below of all of the moves the Cowboys have made on this coaching staff. Who are you the most excited about? Let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. But nonetheless, Nick, what do you think about these latest moves by the Cowboys?
I think it's absolutely incredible. I mean, maybe not incredible for some other teams, but for the Cowboys, this is just sort of a sea change. This is the best staff that the Cowboys have had probably since the early 2000s with Bill Parcells. And that was him taking over Mike Zimmer, and he had Sean Payton as his offensive coordinator, offensive coach. He obviously, people didn't know who Sean Payton was at the time, but he obviously went on to do great things with the Saints and now continues to do great things with the Broncos. This staff is on that level because you've got lots of NFL experience, new NFL experience, great college coaches making the leap to the NFL. You've got high energy guys, you've got guys with a chip on their shoulder, but most importantly, like you said, these are all just football guys. Clayton Adams is a football guy. Junior Adams is a wide receiver coach, is just a great coach developing wide receivers. I love Derek Foster, running backs coach. Again, we're looking at guys as their it feels like if you look at these numbers here, about two-thirds of them, this is their first year with the Dallas Cowboys. That's anti Jerry Jones. Jerry Jones is all about, as we all know, once you're a cowboy for life, even when it's time to move on. You look at, of course, Jason Garrett, Ezekiel Elliott, right? There's just numerous instances of this where Jerry Jones just tries to recreate the past and live in the past too much. This coaching staff, led by, of course, Coach Schottenheimer, who a lot of people said this was just a continuity hire, boring name, not going to do anything good, not going to change anything. If you look at the staff, I mean, it's essentially half of it's college guys with their first chance in the NFL. The other half is experienced NFL coaches. Eberflus, like you said, is probably the biggest name. Phenomenal defensive coordinator, was a great linebackers coach for the Cowboys, did great things with the Colts defense. He did good things with the Bears defense. He just wasn't right for the head coach, but he's going to be a great coordinator for Dallas. I mean, you just go down this list. Even Nick Sorensen as a special teams guy, He comes from the 49ers. He's a defensive coordinator with the 49ers, but he's a special teams player in his career as in the NFL. So he'll slide in perfectly there. Again, this is all just great X's and O's. You've got players, former players, you've got guys with lots of coaching experience, you've got college coaches breaking into the NFL. I mean, you got everything you can want here. And I think this is the important thing to really take away. And this is the real incredible thing. This is the opposite of status quo. This is the opposite of we're just trying to live in the past and recreate the past. Honestly, if you're trying to recreate a past moment, this feels a lot like 1989, right? When Jimmy Johnson took over the Dallas Cowboys after Jerry Jones purchased it and completely revamped everything. Now, of course, Johnson would go on to do great things. He went on to go Hall of Fame, and that was the beginning of the Cowboys dynasty in the 90s. We don't know what will happen here. It's way too early to say. Of course, they'll be even close to that. But this is the same kind of energy. This is different. Even Bill Parcells didn't have this energy because he kept Zimmer and that coaching staff on when Parcells took over in 2003. This is a completely different vibe in the Dallas Cowboys organization right now than we've seen, again, since the late 1980s. And I think that is so important. Change was needed, especially culturally. A lot of people thought it wasn't going to happen when he hired Schottenheimer to be the head coach. That has been proven to be 100% categorically false with a deep experience in some ways, young and interject in other ways, talented coaching staff across the board, offense, defense, special teams, assistants. Phenomenal job by Schottenheimer. And look, let's give credit to credit where credit is due. It's hard to do sometimes, but the Jones family, they trusted in Schottenheimer, and he has done a great job filling out his staff. Great sign for the future of the Dallas Cowboys.
Yeah, and again, how fitting is this staff to this team? Because right now, you look at the team, and what it screams to me is underrated. Like, this is a team that has a lot of players on it that maybe are coming off down years, but traditionally has a lot of really strong pieces, and I don't think people give the team the credit that is due. You know, you've got Lawrence here, Demarcus Lawrence, worst year in forever, like horrible PFF grade from last season, but you go back before that, guy's a superstar, so we know what he's capable of. Micah Parsons, there's no underrating Micah Parsons. Probably anything that you say about Micah Parsons, probably underrating him a little bit. He's a little bit better than whatever you could say about him. You look at the corners. Diggs had some major seasons last year. Not as great season for him, but we know what he's capable of as that ball hawk kind of corner. Bland had a really great season last year. He's okay this year, but we've seen the peak, what he can do. Especially, we talk about Eberflus, guy that can really elevate defenses. Really did some great stuff with the Bears defenses. Tyreek Stevenson made him into one of the better corners in the NFL last season. I think there's a lot of good here when you look at the defense side of the ball, offense side of the ball, whole offensive line outside of Martin. We know who Martin is, but everybody's probably a little bit underrated on this offensive line for the Cowboys. The receivers, CeeDee Lamb, I don't think he gets enough credit about how good he is compared to the other, top 5, top 7 receivers in the league. He's one of those guys. So I think just all around the ball, there's underrated players to match the underrated coaches. I would watch out. I think the Cowboys are primed to sneak in here this season and start to make a lot of noise, be dangerous team, because I think we're about to see a return to form for a lot of these players, and people are going to remember just how talented they were.
And I think you hit on something that Cowboys fans, you guys should be excited about, is that it's sneaking, it's quiet, it's not all over ESPN or Fox Sports all the time. And that's the other great thing about these hires. They're just football guys. And Miles, you brought up a great point. Some of those veterans, you look at Martin and Lawrence. If you bring just a status quo, if you bring back, Mike McCarthy and his staff or kind of vibe, do those guys really feel energy and momentum and want to come back on super team friendly deals? Probably not. Maybe not. I don't know. We'll have to see. But the fact that you go with a young staff, energetic staff, completely change things, get a lot of buzz in the star for the first in a long time. You think Zach Martin maybe thinks twice? Well, maybe I want to ride this out and see what this new organization looks like. You think Demarcus Lawrence is like, I want to play for Eberflus again. Of course, Eberflus was there a long time ago, but Lawrence was a younger guy when Eberflus was a linebackers coach. So there's at least a little familiarity there. I think there's reason for those two guys, those veterans who, like you said, coming off injury, disappointing seasons, want to stick around on team-friendly deals to see if they can capture this energy, capture this buzz that for the first time in a long time is all about football, and that is the most important thing, and that's why Cowboys fans should actually be really excited by this staff.